Sony has halted production of the PlayStation VR2. What does this mean? Is PSVR dead? Let's get into it. I'm Placed OK. And let me know what you think in the comments as well. Let's go.
Let's go.
So naturally, guys, this really caught me off guard. There's a plethora of articles going out right now from Bloomberg. Sony hits pause in PSVR2 production as unsold inventory piles up. Sony is reportedly pausing PSVR2 production to clear excess inventory. Sony reportedly pauses PSVR2 production to clear the backlog of unsold units. Production is paused. What does it mean? Well, we're going to cover that in this video. But first, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, click the bell icon. I know everyone asks you to do it on YouTube, but it really helps out. It helps me as a creator and helps the YouTube channel, helps the video. You name it. I would really appreciate it. And also consider click and join. If you love handheld gaming, tech, and all that sort of stuff, please consider supporting. Anyways, let's get into the news and we'll go over the Verge article and see what they have to say. So Sony's reportedly pausing PSVR2 production to clear excess inventory. Sales of the $550 headset are reportedly slowing due to the lack of games, allowing inventory to pile up, which is a shame. PlayStation VR2 was one of the few headsets that came out not long ago. They had a bunch of great features, a bunch of great games behind it, like obviously Gran Turismo 7, right? That looked phenomenal. Horizon's experience where you're climbing up the cliffs, and just, it was amazing. Inside out tracking as well. There were so many things to like about PSVR 2. Unfortunately, it wasn't one of the headsets that I got. I wish I had the chance to try it, but I've seen a lot of people try it. It was really good. It's really great, but things seems to have dried up since then. As far as games are concerned, as far as people buying it, there's just nothing new that's coming out on PlayStation VR that's really grabbing people, that's making them go out and buy a PSVR 2 headset. It had that initial hype, it had its launch games that really got people hyped up and excited for it, but then obviously the Quest 3 came out, we've had the Apple Vision Pro now, we've got a bunch of different headsets coming out competing for market share, right? And PlayStation's sort of lagging behind, just like their consoles lately. There's been, you know, the new game, the uptick in games has sort of died down quite a bit, and we're not seeing that content coming out, and we're not seeing independent content outside of PlayStation's own studios pushing content out. System sellers, right, for the PSVR. Let me know what your opinion is in the comments, but let's take a look at the rest of the article. So after producing in excess of 2 million units of its latest virtual reality headset, Bloomberg is reporting that Sony is hitting pause on the production to try and shift its unsold inventory. The PSVR 2 launched last February for $549 as an accessory for the PlayStation 5, but IDC data suggests that shipments have declined each quarter since. Now, obviously, it's a pricey investment, right? If you're going to be buying a VR headset, you do, especially the PlayStation VR, you have to consider the fact that you do have to invest in a PS5 to use the headset. And when you combine those together, we're looking at like $1,000 or more to have this VR experience. Is it worth that? Is it getting enough content to make it worth that? That's only a question. That's only an answer that you can answer, and that these developers can answer by pushing out new content, right? And honestly, I've not heard too much about new content on the PlayStation VR. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. But obviously, the Bloomberg seems to suggest the same thing. It's the lack of content for the headset. The PSVR 2 is compatible with a handful of AAA games, including Horizon Call of the Mountain, Gran Turismo 7, and entries in the Resident Evil series, as well as, can you imagine playing Resident Evil in VR? I struggle to play it on a screen, never mind actually being in the game. As well as a range of smaller titles, but at $549, the headset costs more than the PS5 itself, so expectations are high. Bloomberg notes that Meta and Apple have faced similar content challenges with their own headset. As well as pausing production on the headset, Sony's recent layoffs impacted teams that have worked on VR titles. It closed down its London studio, the developer behind Horizon Call of the Mountain, which was a phenomenal VR example of what VR games could be. Fire Sprite Studio, that was also impacted. In total, the layoffs were expected to affect 900 Sony employees, or 8% of its total headcount. It's looking like Sony's sort of dialing back the VR hype train. Obviously, the Apple Vision Pro just came out, so hopefully that reignites interest in VR and AR headsets. But I think Sony could do a lot better. I think the fact that we have to buy the PS5 and the PlayStation VR headset, it was a tough sell if you don't have the content. And it brings me back, it reminds me of the PlayStation Vita, right? To have a separate piece of hardware that requires its own content, I think that's a tall order. That's a tall order, especially in this market environment where we're getting layoffs left and right. Companies are shutting down. You know, people have less income to spend because of inflation on food. People are putting more money on groceries, less money on games. You know, it's a tough environment to support an independent piece of hardware that requires, you know, games and software and investment to really take off. And that's what really happened with the PlayStation Vita, right? Obviously, people were buying the PlayStation Vita, but people weren't developing it for it. You know, it was a lot of investment required on Sony's part to push their own first-party titles to it. It ended up dying off. People weren't buying it. The content wasn't really there for the most part. There was issues with the hardware itself. I just see a lot of similarities. I could be wrong. Maybe the PS Vita, the failure of the PS Vita is completely unrelated and completely different to the PlayStation VR, but I don't know. I think they could have done a lot more in terms of promoting PlayStation VR, the PSVR2 as its own headset, right? They could have allowed PC support, allowed us to hook it up to a PC and use PC games on it as well. Access, you know, use it for more than just PS5. A lot of us don't use a PS5, but we'd love to use the PlayStation VR headset, and I would buy one if I could use it on PC, right, rather than be tied into PlayStation's ecosystem. So yeah, so I would love to know what the current Sony PlayStation VR, sales numbers were. What are they? How can we compare that to other headsets on the market? Is there enough consumer demand considering the pricing of having to buy a PS5 and a PSVR2? What strategies could Sony implement to boost PSVR2's appeal? One thing, like I've mentioned, is including PC support. Who knows? Maybe even creating a standalone VR headset that doesn't require the PS5. That'd be kind of nice as well. And maybe just helping advertise it as a way to play your PlayStation games without needing a TV, right? Having a cinema experience that lets you use all your PS5 games. I believe you might be able to do that. Let me know in the comments if you have one of these things and if you could play regular PS5 games. Do you really need to market it more? If they can't get the content, the independent content, first-party content, it's just unique PSVR exclusive content on the PS5, they need to promote other ways of using it, right? Entertainment, Netflix, just doing stuff other than VR gaming. The sky's the limit. They really need to try and sell this thing more for it to find other ways to promote this thing. Anyways, let me know what you think the standout games are for the PlayStation VR2, what games you play, do you still use yours if you got yours, and just let me know what you feel about this. I'm not hearing much about VR lately, and it's a shame. Obviously, Apple seems to have taken a majority of attention off of other headsets, right? They're pushing standalone VR. Standalone VR, for me, I think is the future of VR. I don't think anybody wants to be tied to a gaming PC. If you're going to try VR and get into VR, it's nice having that standalone experience where you're not tied to anything else, right? Having to buy $3,000 to $1,000 to $3,000 worth of hardware just to experience VR. They need to make it standalone, they need to make it portable, and they need to allow you to do more than just one thing, whether it be spatial VR, putting stuff, virtual monitors, displays, using it for work, obviously enjoying entertainment in terms of Netflix, films, YouTube, and doing stuff in VR other than just gaming. I think that's why VR struggled, especially the PSVR 2, is just, investing that much money, more than the PS5, and then having to buy a PS5 on top of that, only to play a select few games that support it. It's a tall order these days, and people, obviously, like we spoke about, having less spending money to spend on stuff they want. You really need to do better. Obviously, it was great when it first came out. Things have changed since. Obviously, you've got new headsets coming out that are standalone, that can do more than just play games, spatial applications, entertainment, you name it. I think the PSVR 2 was great when it came out. Like I said, the games that they made for it were great. It needs to do more for the price that they're asking. Anyways, that's the news. Halted production, or at least died it down significantly. Stock is building up on store shelves. Less people are buying them. There's not really much to buy one for at the moment, unless you're wanting the launch games and obviously some indie games. I really just hope they open it up and let you do more with it. Enjoy entertainment, play PS5 games, promote that and make that better. Maybe game streaming, who knows, to this thing. And obviously maybe a little bit of spatial computing as well. Anything at this point we'll take. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I'm Blazed OK. It's a little bit of a rambly video, but I just wanted to get the news out there that PlayStation VR 2 isn't doing so well, and I would love to know what you think in the comments. Go let me know down below, and please consider liking, subscribing, clicking the bell icon, and consider becoming a member by clicking join down below. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh yeah, come join me on stream every day. Don't know, not set a schedule just yet, because my schedule is a little bit crazy, but if you could join me for some streams, playing Tarkov, that'd be kind of cool. Anyways, have a great day.
Let's go.